Hi, y'all. It's Reverend Joel Talbert, one of the pastors here at the Presbyterian Church of Chestertown in Chestertown, Maryland. It's week 2 of our sermon series from Sanctified Art called I've Been Meaning to Ask. This whole sermon series has us asking questions of one another and being asked ourselves in hopes that we can show curiosity and inspire compassion and renew connection between us all as the community of God. This week's question is, where does it hurt? And we're going to see a video from a reverend in Atlanta, Brittany Fiscus-van Rossum. She's going to talk to us about what that question means to her. I hope today you feel yourself inspired to share with someone where it hurts. And I hope you'll join us Sunday for worship as we dive into this question a little deeper together as a worshiping community of God. Let's hear from Brittany.
Hi, I'm Brittany Fiscus-van Rossum. I'm a pastor at Mercy Community Church, which is a grassroots ecumenical congregation that meets in borrowed spaces and on the streets of Atlanta, Georgia. We bring people in and out of housing together to gather multiple days of the week to eat food together and worship God and fellowship and build community, work for justice, and just be the church together. Where does it hurt? This is a humanizing question. One, it acknowledges that all human beings experience pain. But I like this question because where does it hurt also acknowledges that the pain that you're feeling is legitimate. It says, where does it hurt? And even if your answer, even if your story, your experience, your pain is different from mine, I value you as a human being enough to ask you this question. And I value you enough to listen to and accept the response. It's when Eli finally stops and listens to Hannah, who shares her painful story in her own words. It's when Jesus is walking through the crowd, but takes the time to stop and turn and notice and acknowledge and listen to this long hurting woman who others have labeled impure. This question is humanizing because it says that even if I don't have the answers, even if I don't have a solution, I value you enough as a human to listen to your experience. Have you ever not wanted to ask this question because you don't know if you can accept the answer? As a pastor to a community of many people who experience homelessness, there are some days that I struggle to find the right compassionate words. There are days when I don't necessarily want to ask the question, how was your night last night? Because I'm afraid of what the response might be. I'm afraid because maybe they'll say it was too cold or too rainy, or maybe the police told them to move, or maybe they experienced violence, and maybe I won't have a solution or an answer. Maybe I won't know what to do. Or maybe even their answer is going to call to attention this injustice happening in my own city. And I'm going to have to acknowledge that I'm complicit in some of the things and some of the broken systems that cause other people pain. Even as I was asked to reflect on this question, I found myself wanting to jump to the next questions, like, where does it hurt? Okay, what can I do? How can I fix it? How can I be a helper? And, I think that's natural. But I think that as faithful people, as people called to be present to one another, as people who follow an embodied, enfleshed God who was present to human beings and right in the middle of humanity and all of its pain and all of its suffering, I think we too are called to not move too quickly to what's next. We're called to ask, where does it hurt? And to be present to whatever the answer might be. We're called to value the human being, the stories, the experiences, the pain of others, even if it's different from our own, even if it calls us to account. If we are to be people who bring peace and healing, it's going to happen through listening. It's going to happen through relationships. It's going to happen through being present to one another, bearing witness to pain, because that's who our God is. Our God bears witness to our pain. Our God stands alongside us in all of our pain and suffering, and we're called to do that for one another.